We've got the news to get to as well this morning. The special agent in charge of the FBI here in Indianapolis is retiring at the end of this week.
Brittany Lewis had a chance to have a good conversation with him, talk about his career. Very interesting look back. Tell us more about his life.
Yeah, a very fascinating 30-year career that really deserves to be told from the beginning. Take me back 30 plus years ago. Why did you even want to join the FBI?
I was in law school at the time in Washington State, and the FBI came recruiting.
Jay Abbott joined the FBI in 1987, working in Washington, D.C. on the first ever cold case homicide unit.
One case I remember vividly that I'll remember for the rest of my life, I was the case agent. We had an individual who was stalking and killing police officers.
That individual would end up killing a fellow special agent and friend. 6 months after, 2 other special agents and friends had been killed.
You know, up until that point, I had been in the FBI for about 5 or 6 years. It was a life of adventure, intrigue, romance, and excitement. But then when those things happened, it became very, very real. And from that point forward, I knew that well, those incidents motivated me to pursue leadership. I didn't want to be outside of the decision-making stream where I could potentially help make a difference in protecting those agents that I've come to care so much about.
That led him to his first supervisory post at FBI headquarters, working on international terror programs, a position that would lead him to his next assignment, working on international terrorism matters from the U.S. Embassy in Paris, where he witnessed the 9/11 attacks.
Some of the cases that I had the opportunity to work on there were just amazing. Zacharias Moussaoui, he was the fabled 20th hijacker from 9/11, the shoe bomber case.
From there, he worked public corruption in Texas, was chief of the Global Operations sections in the Criminal Justice Information Services Division, served as an acting special agent in Seattle, and then landed here in Indianapolis as the special agent in charge, where he spent the last 4 years of his career working cases with success and some regrets, but completing the goal he had when he started 30 years ago.
But I think the thing that I am the most proud of during my leadership, whether it was in Washington, D.C., or in Paris, France, or in El Paso, Texas, or in West Virginia, and significantly here in Indiana, I've always managed to ensure the safety of the special agents that are out there doing the work of protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution.
So he officially retires on Friday, and he says he plans to stay here in Indianapolis, a place he says is home now, so we'll be sure to follow up. I'm sure this isn't the end of him. I'm sure there's something else he's going to do, so we'll follow up with that for sure.
What a great guy, too. And it's no secret, one of the unsolved cases that he is involved in right now, and he's leaving still unsolved, is the issue of the Delphi murders. Abby Williams and Libby German, we still don't know who killed those girls.
And he told me, looking back on his 30-year career, and especially here in Indianapolis, that that's one of his biggest regrets, that the killer has not yet been caught.
We provided a huge amount of help, but the fact that we've not been able to solve that case has been a disappointment. And I've already challenged my successor, Grant, that I want him to solve it on his watch, because I am confident, very confident, that it will be solved. We have viable leads. We've just not been able to solve it yet. But it's so frustrating with the amount of leads and information that we have that we haven't turned that corner yet.
He told me one of the biggest frustrations he has with the case is some of the misinformation that has been put out about it. He says they've tried to be very responsible with releasing information about the case because of how it may impact Abby and Libby's family. So that's something they've certainly tried to be cautious with.
This has been interesting over the last few hours here on Daybreak. If you weren't with us earlier, you may not have seen the longer conversation. Totally different topics. For instance, he gives some answers to some of the concerns people have about the FBI right now. Can people still see this? Can you get it up on the web form?
Yeah, so we had an hour-long conversation. So we'll be putting all of the pieces we did on WitchTV.com. So if you missed it earlier, you'll be able to see that.
Good.
Such an interesting guy. Thank you for doing that. It's 9:18 right now.